Morning. Who kicked the wire? Chris Collinsworth slide. Yeah, that's a fun thing to do. I really should move that wire so I don't kick it. But what fun is that? Anyways, good morning, Keone. Veeder _ number 27. Good morning. I will not subscribe to IPL. Do not show me this again. Did I really lose to Nito a second time this season? Did I get swept by Nito? Oh, I didn't even come close to winning. Whale poop. You're gonna win the whole division. That is absurd. Evie, yes, you didn't know there was a Splatoon competitive or a Splatoon fantasy football league. Who's it? It's me, Keone, Half, Hermit, Latios, Nito, T, Baja, Lit Blue, and Kitsune. Surne. We should add like 2 more people next season for sure. We should definitely remove some people from this season. I think that's what we need to do. We need to get rid of the people who beat me. Which I think I'm projected to finish 9th out of 10th now. And I was like, what? If I beat Nito, I make playoffs, like, comfortably. But because I lost to Nito, I fall all the way to, like, next to last in the league. Fantasy football's fun. It's a lot of fun if you don't take it too seriously. If you take it too seriously, it's not fun at all. It is horrible. No, we cannot play Fantasy Splatoon. We're not doing that. Don't even think about it. Has anyone seen where my turkey hat is? I had a turkey hat. I was going to wear that today, but I can't find it. Where would it be? I looked in the holiday closet. It's not in there. It's even funnier the second time. PJ does like actual turkeys. Yeah. Yes, actual turkeys. A 5 stream watch. What? Rocket, don't be watching IPL that much. Come on. Watch this show. Cinda finals. Low Ink for sure. Definitely watch that. SOS. Don't touch that. Boo, SOS. You've been watching SOS, haven't you, Rocket? We booing SOS again? Why wouldn't we? Are we booing SOS again? Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or VOD, Twitch or YouTube, while you are still working on those Thanksgiving leftovers, trying to get Santa to bring you a new boyfriend for Christmas, being neato and sweeping me during the fantasy football regular season and knocking me out of the playoffs before they even start. Whatever it is that you're doing right now, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. Happy post-Thanksgiving to all of you that are on this side of the pond that have something to be thankful for, and actually this side of the border, because I think Canadian Thanksgiving already happened. Not that I would know what Canadians celebrate with that, but good for you, I guess. I don't know. Why do I live in Indiana? It's snowing right now. It's a wintry mix. I'm going to have to shovel my driveway at the end of this episode. It's December the 1st, which is ridiculous. But, you know, it is what it is. But that's not what you guys came here for. You came here to hear my thoughts and opinions on what stupid things you guys are saying on social media. One thing that I did see this past weekend, and I typed out a few things and deleted it instead, was like, why would I spoil something that I could waste time talking about on the Popcast. I need this tweet and post less and save my good ideas for when we're talking about stuff like this. So I saw some posts talking about how, hey, Japan is strict with their time limits with their tournaments. TOs on North America and Europe should start doing that as well. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Seems like a logical thing to do. You know, it's not really a surprise to me that people would want something like that because that's what we do with Low Ink. We've been enforcing strict time rules during the Swiss stage of Low Ink for years now. And it works. It's not that bad. Yeah, do we get like the mumble grumble little posts in the chats when we have to like take a game off of somebody? Yeah, we do. It's, you know, you move on to the next round, you get over it. And most of the time with Low Ink, still, whenever somebody goes over time with Low Ink, it's mostly just because connection issues. A lot of time, not a lot, but it's not uncommon for us to have two teams that just can't get into a lobby with each other, or a DC that takes too long for a team to get back in. And it's unfortunate that things like that happen, but we are strict with our timing rules, and we do get some sass for it in private. But here's the thing. Here's the thing, all right? In Low Ink, we have been around for 7 years now. Low Ink has been a tournament that's lasted longer than 7 years. So we have credibility within the community. We also do not have players that have a lot of clout or a following or anything like that. We've had several players who have since left Low Ink and have gone on to become popular, I guess, but nobody's really popular when you're playing in Low Ink unless you're like already a content creator going into it, which we've had some people before. But if somebody were to go on social media and complain about our timing rules, it's not going to immediately pop off the same way as if you were to take a game off of an FT Win or a Milky Way or a team of that caliber for being late to a match, and they were to go to social media and complain about it, that would gain a lot more attention. And I'm not saying those players have done that because I haven't seen that, because no TO would have the guts to enforce that rule against those specific players. You might say that you would. I haven't seen any of you do anything like that before. And maybe because they don't play X rank and they actually join the lobbies real quick. But I just want to point something out. Would it be great if we had a consistent rule across the board of a amount of time that if you are late to getting into a lobby, it's going to start costing you games, and that was like the standard, and TOs enforce that? Yes, I'm 100% on board with that. If you liked one of those posts on social media this past weekend, I think it was Gabe and Pika were the main ones I saw pushing that narrative, and rightfully so. I'm on board with that too. But if you liked any of those posts, but at the same time, at any point in your life, have you supported somebody who complained about being rule booked, or you yourself complained about being rule booked? Guess what? You are a big, fat, flaming hypocrite, because that is exactly the kind of narrative that TOs get pushed back on every time they try to run their tournament the way that the players agreed wanted the tournament to be run by signing up to play in it. Because you guys will say, yeah, I want stricter time limits. But when somebody roasts their opponent because their opponent rule booked them, you guys will be as quiet as mouse. And you won't support the people who are actually going, like, no, that person who rule booked you, quote unquote rule booked you, they're correct because you broke a rule, and a TO can't watch everything that's going on in a tournament. How many times, I could not tell you how many times, in Low Ink alone, where we have disqualified a player or something else that we didn't know about because we needed another player to let us know, hey, this team, they have a player that's not on their roster. They're using an alias. They're doing whatever. How many times that opposing team has said, oh, well, you guys just really wanted a free win, huh? Oh, you couldn't beat us that way, so you had to get the rules involved to beat us. Okay. You guys better be the first ones to jump down the throats of somebody who complains about being rule booked on social media until you actually know you broke a rule. You are the one who's in the wrong here. And if it's somebody with clout, I'd really love to see you guys step up and do that. I would really love to see that. But the vast majority of you won't. But you'll say you want these stricter rules, but you won't help the TOs enforce those strict rules. Or you yourself won't raise a match dispute. Hey, my opponent's 6 minutes late. It says 5 minutes. They're now at 6 minutes. No, you're going to give them a homie stock. You know, you're going to gentleman to things. If you've ever gentleman to something in a tournament, you played a part in slowing things down. I'll raise my hand. I've gentleman to things myself back when I played. I understand it. But just understand, I want you guys to know how hypocritical you guys are. You probably weren't aware, but you are massive hypocrites. It's like every single thing. Hey, we want these tournaments to be faster. And then when there's somebody who complains because they lost the game due to a rule that makes tournaments faster and you don't do anything about it, you're a hypocrite. And that's why tournaments don't have the forcing timing rules. Low Ink does. And we'll continue to have it. News of tournaments may be of interest to the casual listener of the Popcast. Do you know what tournament's going on this weekend? Oh, it's not the Splatoon 3 North American League. Why is that not going on this weekend? I honestly have no idea why they're taking 2 weeks off. But it's so awesome that it just so happens to allow us to run the super jump that we announced during the summer. Do I think that's the reason why? I don't. I honestly don't think that mattered at all. But it is a very convenient coincidence that is something that took place. Super Jump is going on this weekend on December the 6th and the 7th. And you can sign up for it. It is an open major for any skill level. Obviously, there's not a lot of people signed up right now. Don't worry. It is Monday. There's going to be 80 teams that sign up on Friday alone. That's how these things always work. But make sure to sign up for Super Jump or watch it. One or the other. Today we are going to be taking your calls. It's been a while since I talked to you guys. I want to hear your opinions on anything. We talked about gatekeeping the last episode of the Popcast. If you have thoughts on everything I just said about the timing rules or things that I'm about to say or anything else related to competitive Splatoon, related can be stretched into something else. If you guys want to talk to me about, I don't know, how handsome I am, that's somewhat related to competitive Splatoon. We will allow that. I'll be telling you how you can join the show and how you can be taking how I can start taking your calls later on after this segment. All that and more. But first, can we just acknowledge how spoiled we are right now? How before, when we wanted to see a match that was an FT win versus a Starburst or a Moonlight or an Alliance Rogue or a Milky Way or some sort of combination of teams and players like that, in order for us to see a match like that last year, some schmuck had to open up their wallet, create some tournament that was Splat Zones only, then it was streamed on some random person's channel that had a scoreboard they created in Microsoft Paint the night before. That is how we used to be able to watch these type of caliber of matches between these two teams. And we would watch that because that was the only opportunity we would get to see players like that. You wouldn't get to see those matchups very often, maybe once every other month. Maybe you had to wait for another Cindo finals. Maybe you had to wait for a LAN. But it wasn't quite often that you got to see those caliber of matchups. We've seen those matchups repeatedly for the past 8, 9, 10 weeks now. Non-stop. Since the last Super Jump. We had the last Super Jump, 8 weeks of the Splatoon 3 North American League. Cindo Finals last week. Super Jump this next week. And then the playoffs right after that. It's a lot. It's a lot of top-level competitive Splatoon that we're seeing right here. And it concluded with the Week 8 of the Splatoon 3 North American League that ended 2 weeks ago. Obviously, I didn't do an episode last week, so just to briefly go over it, the 8 playoff teams are set. It is FT Win, Milky Way, Moonlight, Fo, Duck Motif, Gourmet Race, Bet, and Healthy Diet Food Groups is the 8th team sliding in. I told you Week 8 came down to what was Healthy Diet going to do versus Halcyon, and it was kind of nerve-wracking when both teams came down to the end, and it was, well, is Healthy Diet going to even make top 8 this week because Halcyon is in? I think they both got matches as ladder closed. Healthy Diet won, Halcyon lost, and that was enough for them to swap places, because if one team made top 8 and the other didn't, that was going to be enough point standing wise for one of them to finish into the playoffs. It would have been nice if both of those teams made top 8 that week and they played against each other, but Healthy Diet didn't just make playoffs because their elo was better. Well, that's the only reason they made top 8. But you look at the resume both teams had. Healthy Diet had a way better resume than what Halcyon did in Week 8. So they were, quote-unquote, more deserving to make top 8 in that one. Now, is Healthy Diet going to do any damage in the actual playoffs? Probably not. They are, I believe, 0-6 against the other teams that have made the playoffs in this, in the top 8 portion whenever they played them in the top 8. But I was right about one thing. I said that every team that made the playoffs had to have 5 weeks of making top 8 during the regular season. Now, mathematically, they didn't have to do that, but Healthy Diet now technically does have 5 weeks, with the Week 8 erasing one of the weeks where they didn't make playoffs. So it ends up working out in the end, where everybody had to make playoffs, to top 8 in order to make playoffs 5 weeks in a row. There's been some cool database stuff that's been kind of collected behind the scenes. Falco's been kind of releasing a few stuff on Blue Sky. He also showed me something he's been working on all last week, I believe with 9 and somebody else. I think Power. And I don't think that's like public yet, so I'm not going to like reveal it here now. But there's a cool little database that allows you to just kind of look up all the statistics of all the teams that are in the playoffs, and it's really cool. Also, you can look up and see how unoften Humpback Pump Track is picked in anything ever. Not very popular map mode. Stage mode combo that we're seeing with that. So maybe there's some more information that'll be shown off a little bit later that you guys can use to hype yourself up for the playoffs here. But the 8 teams that we have are the 8 best teams that survived the league. There's no like, oh, you should take this team out and put that team in. When you look at who's left, and you're like, no, all the teams that made it are the 8 best teams that are surviving this one. 5 obviously did not survive. Again, if they just stumbled their way into another week, maybe even with 3 players, that might have been enough to get them more points than Healthy Diet. If Hypernova, who has turned into Hypernova 3.0, had played with this version of their roster in week 1, they probably make it. Sunset, if they were a thing more often, they probably find a way to make it in there as well. But then you start looking, okay, if those 5 teams made it in, who are the 5 teams that are coming out? Healthy Diet's the obvious one, just looking at the amount of points they have versus everybody else. But Duck Motif and Gourmet Race have the same amount of points, and they were consistently getting 5th place in the best tournaments that they were playing in. By the way, why was Duck Motif playing every single week? Why? They qualified for the playoffs after week 5. They played 3 more. Maybe it's because they knew this was good practice. And maybe they're like, oh, we'll get gate cap. We can't play these teams anywhere else, but we'll get good practice by playing this. We just want good practice. That's all we want. Dear Santa, this year I've been a good boy. I just want good practice. But Hypernova 3.0 did not survive. Sunset was not a thing until too late. And 5 kind of didn't make it past week 3, I don't think. So you look at those 3 teams, you say, okay, well, who's left? Gourmet Race played phenomenally to close out the season. Duck Motif played every single week. They obviously did enough. And Healthy Diet Food Groups, if you needed an 8th team, they fit the role perfectly. And now they got a huge uphill battle ahead of them. There's talks of retiring players after this. You know, I don't know how serious any of that is. People have been talking about retiring all the time. I mean, and they say when you start thinking about retired, you're already retired. But nobody here is retiring. Like, we use the word retiring like any of you have a 401k or any kind of plan set up. Like, no, you don't. Like, that's not what that means. You're just stopping playing the game. You're not retiring. You don't get any kind of benefits for announcing that. Although that would be nice. I would retire in a heartbeat. They're just not going to play the game. But are these players really going to step away? If there is another league that gets announced at some point, they're not going to play in it. If there's a new major showing up, they're not going to sign up under a silly name with 3 other players and win prize money. I doubt that. And I'm not suggesting like, oh, keep playing forever. No, if people are genuinely burned out and they're going to step away, good for them. It's just I've seen people say, oh, this is it. This is it. I'm leaving. I've seen TOs say, I'm leaving. This is it for me. And then they're in a TOing meeting the next day talking about the next event. Literally, I've had that happen twice this year. I'm not going to name names. I'm not throwing shade at anybody. It's your life. But I've always kind of skeptical when people say, this is it. I'm going to do it. I'm really going to leave this time. It's like, okay, that's nice. The door's always open if you want to come back. So I don't know who's actually going to leave or if this really is it. But this past week was the Sindo finals. I believe it is Sindo, not Sindao. You guys have been harping on me for that. We're going to go with Sindo. Does that ruffle any of your feathers? We're going with Sindo now. The Sindo finals took place. And this is a rare chance, because we have been seeing North America and Europe split for the past 8 weeks. The vast majority of the past 8 weeks. Yes, there's been an Indozone here and there, but we haven't seen a lot of players sign up and play in that one. Now, the Sindao finals, you don't just automatically get the sign up for it. You have to earn it over the course of the season. So how many players in North America were even available, knowing they're frying their brains out playing in the Saturday tournaments almost every single Saturday? And none of those tournament points that they're getting translated to Sindao points, which would have got you into the finals. However, this was an opportunity, the first of what hopefully is a couple of times where we get to see North America versus Europe teams, because Europe has been flexing behind the scenes. I've been paying attention. If you've been listening to the Popcast, good news, you've been informed as well. Well, this wasn't really NA versus EU, was it? Of the 12 teams that played in yesterday's finals, 8 were Europe, or at least 75% Europe. Or are we counting PXG as an international team? Like they don't belong to any country now. I mean, most of them seem to be from France at this point, but we're counting PXG as the 8 teams that were EU. That means only 4 were representing some portion of North America. Of the 39 players that have qualified for the Splatoon 3 North American League playoffs, of those 39 players, only 6 played in the Sindo finals. Moonlight played, that's 4. Shiny played for, I believe, Halcyon. And if it's the same Leaf that is on Gourmet Race, they also kind of subbed for another team. in this as well. That's all I could find. Of the 39 North American players that have made the Splatoon 3 North American League playoffs, only 6 played this past Saturday. Moonlight being the only of the 8 team that actually played. That is concerning. North America is probably gassed at this point. We've been talking about how there's so many tournaments. There's too many tournaments. What no one has ever said is that there's too many tournaments for top level players. What everyone has always said is we need to stop making these skill cap tournaments and turn them into events for top level players. Well, now there's a top level major or weekly or something going on every single week. And that probably has sped up the retirement papers being signed by some of these players here, and has definitely played a role in why we're not seeing a lot of North American representation in the Sindel finals this past weekend. Now, before we move on, PXG did win. No doy. Volti was in over Soldier, so that's a little bit of a mix-up there with PXG, but still no surprise. The Moonlight squad did finish second. They did drop in curious game 5 against the team that finished 2 and 3 in their groups, but still Moonlight 4-1. They won their group. They were the number 2 seed. They did make it to finals, lost to PXG 1-4. EZMD, another EU team, finished, I believe, third. I don't know if they played a third place match, but that was probably the third best team in the tournament. They were the 3 seed. E-Leader Madness going on with that team. And if you like seeing E-Leaders evaporate people from halfway across the map, EZMD's got a player that does just that. Moonlight's looking really solid lately. Still a step behind the big dogs. But the question is, how good is EU really? Moonlight got second. There was no FT Win, Milky Way, Fo, Duck Motif, or Gourmet Race, or Bet, or even Healthy Diet team that has consistently made Sindel finals when they have been able to play in tournaments to earn a spot in there. Hypernova was not there, or Hypernova was there, actually. Hypernova 3.0. It was a mix of some of the other regions that were kind of represented there as well. But if we mixed all the regions together, who are legit the 12 best teams? Like, if you throw in those playoff teams, who are the 8 teams that you would take out? Would you even take out 8 teams? Would you only take out 4 teams that qualified for the Sindel finals? Would you take out 6? Would you not take out any? Well, you would have to. You got to make room for at least FT Win, Fo, and Milky Way, and Duck Motif, and Bet. I mean, there's a lot of solid teams that just that just weren't there, probably because they needed a week off. And that is where this weekend's Super Jump comes into play. I have no idea who's actually going to be playing in this one, though. In all fairness, when we were putting together this idea of we're going to start running consistent majors because this is what top level players want, and we first announced Super Jump in the summer, and oh, by the way, Super Jump in September, Super Jump in December. That was met very positively. A lot of people were excited about that. Yes, not only do I get a Super Jump in the summer, which we were expecting, but now we have something to look forward to, and we have stuff to plan around in the future. When we put that together, we did not know about the Splatoon 3 North American League. that kind of put a wrench in all of this, which leaves you with this idea of like, okay, we got lucky during September because, yes, the league had started, but it was the playoffs, so nobody's really going to be, or preseason, nobody's really going to leave Super Jump to do the preseason thing. And now we're in this awkward time of all the teams that we want to play in this have qualified for the playoffs. Do they use this weekend to help get ready for the playoffs? Or are they just going to be like, we got to take another week off? Like, we need some time to ourselves here. But if we could find a way to get all the top teams that we've been looking for, this could be the true cap to the year. This could be the best tournament of the year because Europe has been off on their own for the past couple of months, training in secret, and they've been getting a lot better. Europe as a whole has improved dramatically. on top of that, we mix in all these NA teams that we've been seeing every single week. And if we can see those two regions truly clash against each other in alpha bracket of Super Jump, that's going to be a great story. Now, the elephant in the room is that, yeah, Splat World Series happened and all those teams got curb stomped by the other region that isn't going to be playing in Super Jump. But still, well, baby steps. We'll get back there someday. Right now, it's what are the interesting storylines, and the fact that EU and North America have been separated for the past couple of months. If we can get them back into this upcoming Super Jump, that's your storyline for this upcoming weekend. Now, who's actually going to play? I don't know. It's Monday. People are going to start registering on Thursday and Friday, and that's when registration is really going to skyrocket. Somebody's going to win the prize money. It could be you. It could be Blank Z. They seem to be the best team that I saw sign up so far. We should probably promote them. Hey, Blank Z is signed up. Can you beat this team? Sign up as well. What are your thoughts, though? I want to hear from you guys eventually. And if you would like to be a part of the podcast, today is your day. If you join, start the stage. Podcast. If you're in the IPL public server, there is a stage at the very beginning called the Popcast Taking Your Calls. Join that stage, raise your hand, and we will bring you on to the show. Again, you can talk about whatever it is that you fancy that you want to talk about. And we did not ping everyone because I'm a good TO like that. And while we are waiting for the phone lines to light up, it's time for the weekly recap. Paddling pool number 347 took place last Wednesday. It was won by the Super Rich Kids. Blanks took second place, and Lego Mario Kart World rounds out your top three. 27 teams played in this EU tournament on Wednesday. The 347th edition of Paddling Pool. They're closing in on 350. That's going to be what? Not this week, next week, but the week after. What are they doing special for that one? I have absolutely no idea. Miku Miku Beam number 31 took place last Wednesday night in place of SOS that didn't ran during the holidays. It was won by Yoddle Toddle. Super Creek finished in second place, and King is the team that took home the bronze medal. 39 teams played on this Thanksgiving Eve tournament, which I looked at the format. It was essentially the same thing as SOS. It was groups into a single limb, except grand finals was best of 7. It's a Wednesday night. Best of 7 grand finals. My goodness. Them's the breaks, though. Triton Cup number 124 took place on Black Friday. It was won by Count My Bands. Usagi Fan Club finished in second, and rounds out your top three. I have been saying Usagi Fan Club for quite a while now, and I have absolutely no idea who the Usagi Fan Club is or what that's about. Apparently, it is a anime/manga called Chikawana, and I tried to do a quick search on that to figure out what that was. That conveyed exactly zero information to me other than it looks like just a cute little chicken thing. So maybe that's just what they're a fan club of, so be it. From the Ink Up number 92 took place on Friday night. It was won by Mad. Love Shot took second, and OK for Cat is the team that for OK Cat. And the cat was an emote, so maybe it's just for OK. I don't know. 30 teams played from the Ink Up on Black Friday night, probably after they got done shopping for a bunch of crappy televisions that were discounted. Love lost to Mad. I'm not sure what we really need to glean from that, but so be it. In the NFL, this is not a good week for the teams that we talk about here on the Popcast. The Rams lost to the Carolina Cougars 28-31. The Steelers are going to fire their coach eventually. They lose to the Bills 7-26. The Chiefs lose on Thanksgiving 28-31 to the Cowboys. Could both teams lose that one? And the Vikings forgot that they are a professional football team. They lose to the Seattle Sam Darnolds 26-0. And that was your weekly recap. Sponsored by Mini from the CCA. So I didn't do an episode of the Popcast last week because it was Thanksgiving. And didn't get that information to Mini, who routinely DMs me the CCA report every single week. And apparently sent me a DM of stuff that the CCA has been up to. And I was like, I know you worked hard creating this, but I'm not doing an episode today. So to make up for that, 100% make up for that, we will make Mini the official sponsor of today's segment of the weekly recap. Nicely done. All right. We have 2 people in the audience. Nobody has their hands raised, which is just fine. If you would like to join the Popcast, join the public Discord server, raise your hand. We will bring you on to talk about anything competitive Splatoon related. If nobody raised their hands, we will very easily call this an episode. Before we do that, though, people were typing out stuff during the when I was talking about rule booking stuff here. I'm a big fan of rule booking. We need more people to rule book so the norm becomes to actually follow the rules and also make TO's job easier. Yeah. Canada gets Thanksgiving weeks before Halloween. That's weird. One of the main issues I run into in a lot of tournaments is that when you contact TO's rulebook, nobody responds. Really? If you ping any staff, they tell you not to ping staff and help desk. Well, yeah, you should never ping staff and help desk. But if you just go to help desk and nobody responds to you, that's kind of bad. Like, you should get somebody to respond to you if you go to help desk. What frustrates me as a TO during low ink is that somebody will come to help desk and say whatever, like they have an issue with whatever, and then I'll be like, okay, we're going to go to your match chat. And then they continue to type in help desk. And I'm like, no, look at match chat. Go to your match chat. So it seems like you're having the opposite problem, Hammy, where nobody's listening to you. To Kappa says, shit, I write my own rules and I still don't remember them all the time. I don't have low ink rules memorized. And I've been running them for about 5 years. We do have a couple people raise their hands, so we will invite you on. Oh, is this Electro J? It is.
This is, yes. I just had my name changed because teams.
Hold on. I got to turn you up. Go ahead. There you go. Hello.
Yeah. Hello. How's everything going? It's been a bit of a minute, so hopefully everything's going well.
It is. What have you been up to?
Well, starting to panic over the fact that finals are next week, maybe? I don't know, question mark. But other than that, just kind of trying to push through some low level. Did get a new tournament ban under the list with Reach recently. So
okay, tell me,
push through.
Explain to me what Reach is and what this the ban, what the skill limit is.
Reach is like, I think last I checked it was like a Div 7 cap. Somewhat, but it's kind of like in between FTIU and setting sail almost, because an FTIU gold bracket will get you banned from Reach. But I applied an exemption request the other day and it was denied, so now I know that I'm over the skill cap for Reach, which is interesting to think about, really, but just kind of as a ultimate plan for moving forward.
You know, I don't want to sit here and talk about like tournaments that I'm not involved in. Whoever they want to ban for whatever reason from their tournaments, it's their right to do that. But it seems like whenever you tell me that you got banned from an event, it's because of a placement that you got and not a result, right? Like oh, I made this bracket. Okay, well, who did you? Do they ever like say who did you actually beat to make that bracket, or do they just look at like, oh, you got the number at the end? Yeah, you got to get out of here.
That's a very hit or miss topic. So like some TOs will do like will look at like the specific teams you fought, like because you're talking I think for placements. I'm just gonna use Low Ink in August, for example. I subbed for Skywave on day two and we got fourth place in beta. And along the way, we beat some teams like Zero Magnum, Los Inklings, eventually lost to Lemon Shark, I'm pretty sure. But I think it's really up to the verification staff's like discretion. It's kind of up to what they want to ban you based on just a placement alone or who you fought to get there. And me personally, I feel like who you fought to get there is much more important than the placement because if you're not getting all these good results, but you are still beating teams above your skill level, I think that says more than just like, beating up on other lower teams than you and not and like getting good results, but not having like good quality opponents, if you kind of get what I mean.
No, I get what you mean. I, I, I wouldn't push back on that narrative for sure.
Yeah.
But
It's
anyways,
very
you came on. You started talking about Reach. I got sidetracked. What did you want to talk about? What did you want to talk about?
I think mainly just kind of thinking about what's been happening. We just had the Sendu Major, just kind of where the direction competitive is going. Because, like I just mentioned, we had the Sendu Major just happen. Super Jump is happening up this weekend. Don't know if I'll exactly sign up for it or not, but we'll see what happens. Mainly just because finals are looming, but also just going into 2026, people are thinking, kind of thinking ahead, what's to come next, like what's the next big tournament, like maybe some people are starting to think of like, oh, and this is one part, I'm one of these people. I'm thinking, oh, when's Ludi gonna happen next? Because let's be honest, I'm kind of waiting for that low key.
When
But I,
go on.
I think my personal thing is just I think it's kind of a wondering like where people think competitive is going in like a good direction. I think it's always been on the uptrend, I feel. But I think it's up to the speculation of people. And I was just kind of thinking like, how well do you think like the competitive scene is going?
Me, you're asking me.
Yes.
I think we're in a pretty good spot compared to where we were last year. I think the major concern, and I'll do a Popcast topic about this in a couple of weeks, but the major concern all of us should have right now is that viewership is awful right now. Just absolutely
Yeah.
awful for this. And I mean, you even look at the Splatoon 3 North American League. You look at the numbers that was doing during the regular season. Yeah, those are like better than what anybody else is doing, but it's also like the developer running the event and you're still getting like really just a couple hundred, maybe 300 watching on Twitch. Now you had more watching on YouTube and more people were watching a week of or no, the numbers were about the same to like the Splat World Series, but we had the entire Japan audience and Europe viewership tied into that as well. But just viewership for Splatoon 3 across the whole is awful right now. And that's a big red flag for me as far as like if the not just for like the future but for the growth of the game in general. But overall as far as like players playing, teams being teams, like this has been some of the best that I've ever seen since I've been doing the Popcast in the past 5 years.
I would definitely agree. Like, there's a lot of talent, and yes, I do think viewership is a big issue. I think I was talking to Ellie about this one time, and they mentioned like that's kind of weird. I was asking them about like how they wanted to bring World Series up to a higher standard, and then they just wanted to mainly get the quality of like the stream graphic, or I think it was like stream stuff. This was like something we talked about like a month ago, so it's some stuff might be a little fuzzy with memory, but mainly because they mentioned that like you have all your bigger terms. You have like Megalodon Monday, you have Baja's Blast, you have like, and then even some of the more well broadcasted ones like the Senduki Major, Low Ink, Super Jump. Like there's kind of like a big disparity there's like a huge gap in the quality or like just the the ability to like actually have them streamed. I think it's really just getting more of them out there. I think is what Ellie said. I think just if more tournaments kind of just get themselves out there, that kind of like helps kickstart it. If you kind of get that, and I hope maybe some other people can share that sentiment too.
Well, I mean, yes. First step is streaming your tournament. The, but it's a broader conversation than that. It's like, again, I'm looking at the Splatoon league and I'm seeing like, yeah, they're getting a lot more viewership than we are, but like if they're not getting a massive amount of numbers for this, it's like, okay, well, what shot do we have? I don't know. Maybe I'm being too negative, but that's just something I've just kind of noticed for sure. I'm gonna keep moving on because we got other people lighting up the phone lines here, Electro J. But it's good to have you on. It's been a minute. Good to come back
Yeah,
on.
it is. It has been a minute, and maybe till the next time, possibly. So,
Well, let's not make
and
this the
yes,
last. Let's do at least one more. And like my old
yeah.
marching band director in college said, one more time does not mean one last time. So let's do one more time.
Oh yes. Oh yes. And for anybody also, sign up for Super Jump.
Do it for Electro J, unless you don't. This is I believe first time caller, long time listener here. Is this K-Bot?
Yes, notoriously never been on the show before at all.
Whoa! Wait, timeout. Where are you right now? Are you at the
I'm
drive-through?
talking. I'm talking on my Bluetooth headset because I'm at work right now. I've got about 15 minutes before tryouts start. Popgun, thank you very
Okay.
much.
Go. So what's your take then? Calling in from work.
I do not have a take. I have a thought experiment that
Okay.
I would like to pose to the audience and for anyone who wants to come in, because I've been thinking about this recently. As someone who might eventually make recommendations. But I have seen, everyone has seen how many people have complained about the format of the Splatoon 3 North American League and how long it takes and yada yada, so on and so
Uh-huh.
forth. My question becomes, what would you feasibly change to still maintain a similar experience for the uninitiated, let's call them, folk who get to show up and play a ladder for 3 hours a week for 8 weeks, but keep a shorter experience for the higher level players so that they're able to come through and have an enjoyable experience that doesn't feel like a slog that you're casting away your entire Saturdays once a week. And I've been trying to come up with the solution, but I don't think, to Hammy's point in the chat right now, I don't think it's a 2 day event
No.
because at that point you are asking people to commit now both days out of their weekend. Uh, and so every time I try to wrap my head around this, you have to make some sacrifice somewhere, and I'm not sure where that sacrifice is.
Why not single limb instead of double? What's the pushback with that?
I think that could be reasonable, but I think the nice thing about double is that you get more a larger narrative for that particular event, right? Rather than
Yeah.
like single elim. Plus, double kind of covers your butt in ladder seeding. Because as you all observed in the final week of play, Fofofo played against Milky Way in round one because Fofofo was 7th seed. And Milky Way was second, right? So Double Elim kind of gets it so that you get a more fair top three rather than just being completely screwed over by seeding and half of your teams are out at 5th, right? Especially when you're going down the line for points for each bracket or, each position, right? Each point in the Double Elim gets a certain number of points.
But that's the obvious solution, though, because look. Ladder is perfect for what Nintendo is trying to get out of this, right? Create some sort of way to take 60 to 80 teams and without having to seed them constantly, Let them determine who the best 8 are. And you can argue till the cows come home about tiebreakers and ELO and all that stuff. When you have 80 teams playing in your tournament, there is no such thing as a fair tiebreaker. You just gotta let things play out and then just let the math do math things and then accept that. But look, it's a qualifier. Like each week is just a qualifier. We don't need. Yeah, like, okay, you're right about the seeding with the into top 8. There's no argument about that. No pushback about that. But at the end of the day, it's just a qualifier. If you can't beat Milky Way because you have to play them in round 1, you got 7 other weeks to make it happen. And by the way, since you made top 8, you're likely that's all you needed. You know, the maths kind of showed all you need to do is make top 8 5 times. Eventually, you're going to get wins. Eventually, you're going to get points, and then it's going to work out.
The pushback I have to that is I think there is too much variance in ladder making a top 8 cut to ensure that happens every time. Because to your point, right? I mean, first of all, how many teams played all 8 weeks of the league? I don't think any single team, any single of the top 8 team did.
Duck Motif
maybe besides
did.
like one. Yeah, okay. Duck Motif might have, but everyone else, right, there were 1 or 2 weekends where they had 1 or 2 players unavailable, and the second you have 2 players unavailable, you can't keep playing, right? So you factor in those. Now you don't get the wiggle room of your top 5 performances count and you throw away your low 3 because you're not playing in 2 or 3 events. Suddenly you have 2 bad ladder runs where you're asked to play against Milky Way or FT Win 2 times in a row for that ladder, and you don't make top 8. Maybe that happens in 2 ladders, right? I just think there's too much variance there to rely on that or use that as the excuse of, oh, it'll be good enough in the long run.
But that's a better alternative than these grand finals where we keep seeing the team that wins on the winner's side get curb stomped on the back end because they're playing at 11 o'clock at night. I mean, we're not seeing these teams play good at all at the end of the tournament. Neither team that are in like the grand finals. It just seems like there's one team that has something left and the other one is just there as a corpse being kicked around for 6 games in a row. They have to get rid of the double. Well, they don't have to. It's not like it's the end of the world. But there's, like you said, wrapping your head around something that would be a good change. There's pushbacks to everything, but I think the most important thing is let's go to bed at a normal time on Saturday, and that means single limb.
The only other thing I'm thinking, Popgun, though, is you're now, for single elim, you're inviting the opportunity of I could cast both semis, which then only really
which is
saves,
what they would 100% do, which would add time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I don't think you're actually saving that much time by the end of this. All right, I gotta run, but continue having the thought experiment, and if anyone has any interesting solutions that they think are actually worthwhile, feel free to reach out.
Thank you. That was good.
That's enough.
That's some good stuff there. All right. But I mean, yeah, like, come on. I've been saying this since the preseason, the double limb thing. And K-Bot brings up a lot of good points about how the seeding out of ladder into double limb kind of helps you out when there's a double elimination going on, and if you got like a tough matchup at the beginning. But again, these are just qualifiers. Each week is just a qualifier. It doesn't need to be this elaborate every single week. I could be wrong though. Keon, what's your thoughts on everything?
I mean, I do have lots of thoughts on everything, but I also want to piggyback of not just K-Bot but also Electro J's point from earlier. Actually, I'll go do Electro J's second here. I mean, it's exactly you touched on a good point. You know that Nintendo would want to broadcast a lot of matches that they can, and when I say a lot, I mean like you basically just covered the big thing, like the 2 semis, probably the losers finals, etc. So you do. So I think people also understand that the runtime is also dependent on other best of fives being played or whatever the format is. I think it was best of five, and Nintendo just wanting to broadcast all the possible matches that they can towards the end of the bracket. So I feel like, unless I'm mistaken, Popgun, there's two things in factor. You have the format and also the production coming into play. I'm not sure how accurate that sounds, though.
Well, no, I mean, again, the whole reason this thing exists is to sell the video game. So the more opportunities they have to show off the game later into Saturday night, the better it's going to be for them. Now, do the players benefit from that at all? No, like you don't, like this isn't college football. They're not getting like NIL from this or anything like that. So they don't get anything from this tournament lasting longer. Yeah, they get to play more sets, but then you blink and it's like, I've been here my entire Saturday. kind of things. But yes, like Nintendo wants to get as many matches as they can, and obviously has been doing a phenomenal job broadcast. And I know maybe that doesn't mean anything coming from me, considering I commentated 2 weeks of this thing. But yes, the production plays a heavy role in this thing even existing, for sure.
Mm-hmm. That because again, you could also be completely log jammed by other sets taking a while for myriad of reasons. Either one match decides to go the entire distance and plays all of the games possible, or there's just some other delays from either the players or production. So again, I think it's to your point. There's a ton of variance there, but I think obviously the big discussion point is, well, this is just eating up my entire Saturday. When can I get dinner at some point?
And we're talking about the player's perspective. From a spectator, I don't care.
Awesome.
I'm fine.
It's awesome.
I can have the tournament up on one monitor, and I can play my Game Boy online on the other one, and I'm just perfectly fine with that. So like, from a spectator perspective, this has been great. I have no qualms with this at all.
No, and I'm sure all of us watching are like, oh my goodness, more Splatoon to watch. But to your point, I think the players are pretty much like, why is this taking forever? That sort of thing. The second thing I wanted to piggyback off with that Electro J actually mentioned, like, oh, that's what got me to raise my hand. How much do you think, though, that other people would prefer to watch the POVs of players actually playing in the tournament versus like your traditional broadcast with a scoreboard and the maps and whatnot with commentators?
I've been doing that a lot more lately, especially with the league. Just because I think it's more interesting to like, it's when they have the VC up. Whenever Moonlight's playing, I'm definitely watching Shadow win, just because I want to hear how Moonlight's going through, and you learn more about Moonlight, obviously, from doing that. You hear them get excited as they're winning. You hear them start to get more quiet and more frustrated as they're losing in a match. And that's, as a viewer, that's like, okay, now I'm invested in the human element of this, versus just like the game where it's like, okay, I can see everything and I can hear what the commentators are saying about the overall thing, but you get almost a better perspective of what's going on just from the player point of view. And a lot of people are streaming now, which is great. And the ladder round is amazing to watch, because almost everybody that you want to watch is streaming during the ladder round. And when you have like 3 teams that are battling for that last spot, you can just have all 3 teams' tabs open, and you can just bounce back and forth and watch them get all kinds of frustrated in the final sets that they're playing. It's really entertaining, for sure.
I think to most like top level tournaments, I think a lot of people, I would imagine the take that I would get here is I did also keep track of the viewership, because I also was commentating the Sendo queue. First, the group stages specifically is like, oh, there's a handful of people watching the broadcast. But a thought that came up when Electro J was on earlier was, oh yeah, if people are also streaming their perspective, they may want to know more about how the team's performing versus listening to me and Rocket yap on the mic and getting all the spectator views. But I feel like there's benefits to both, which is your traditional broadcast and looking at what the players are actually doing, especially with the team, as well. At least that's what I think, though. Is I think there's benefits to both, but it does seem surprising that viewership seems down though as a whole for Splatoon, even with that. Are you saying that viewership is down for a traditional broadcast or just in general?
Oh, just in general. I mean, I'm sure like
Fair.
the top streamers, like Kyo's obviously doing fine. Like Shadowin, whenever Moonlight's playing in a tournament, doing really good. But like any normal tournament broadcast, IPL events have been trickling down.
Yes.
I mean, you just look at Low Ink. You know, we used to get like 300 on a grand finals. Now we're getting about 100. And that's not just like an IPL like issue. You look at any other main broadcast, the viewership is just down in general. So I don't know, you know, I want to do a deeper dive into that. It could just be the fact that the game is getting older, that it's on a outdated console. I guess. I mean, you could play it on the Switch too. I know, but I don't know. You know, there's a lot to look into that, but it is worth acknowledging that like, hey, there is a viewership is down across the board for sure.
I think there's a lot of variance. Also, last question before I eat up more airtime. Okay, so of course Nintendo broadcast the Splatoon NA League. Do you think that we're gonna get another? Do you think that we're gonna get another surge of players hopping into competitive after all of it all this is said and done?
You know, before the league started, I said yes. I said like I thought this would have a huge impact on that. You look at the teams that are playing in this thing. It's all of them are recognizable, and that's not a good thing. You know, you usually want like a lot of teams where you're like, who the heck is this? And now there probably will be some players that are like new that will pop into a Low Ink or from the Ink Up or something like that down the road. But I mean, like, I don't know. You know, I don't think it'll have the same kind of impact that 700 team Nintendo tournament during the pandemic kind of had on the community. I don't know how many kids are asking for Splatoon 3 for Christmas. But the game is on sale, right? It did go on sale for a little bit.
Yeah, it did. I think it did. Yep.
So maybe you got something there. All right, Keon, get out of here. You made playoffs, right?
Which one? Which one made playoffs?
Keon's bookstore in our fantasy league.
Yes, I believe I am in a complete log jam with a bunch of other 6-6 and 7-5 teams in my division. I'm gonna be probably one of 4 teams to be 7-6. Half getting last in that division is not making the 5-way tie possible, but I think I should be good.
Well, there you go. Well, let's kick you out then and bring in last place Half then to close out this segment here. Half, is that true? I haven't looked at the standings. Are you dead last in your division? This is the part where you unmute, Half, or did you just come on just hello?
That's a good idea. So I'm just such a big fan of the Minnesota Vikings. So when I saw they were tanking, I'm like, oh, I should tank as well. So, you know, I'm looking to
They're
get the
not
number
tanking.
one next year.
The Vikings are trying. That is them trying yesterday.
No, I think we're tanking. So I'm tanking as well. You know, so much support, much solidarity.
What do you want, Half? Why are you here?
Also, you shouldn't talk trash when I'm your first round matchup. So karma's coming to get you. Okay. So I've heard a lot of people talk about the format, times, everything. Here's my proposal. It's a really weird one, really cool one, I think. Why don't Nintendo just hashtag copies SAC? So, but we run like 5 like Saturdays. The top 2 of each tournament automatically qualify to the finale. And then we would just have like 2 other teams. You'd get opponents if obviously you don't make a top 2 in the tournament. But then you'd have a bonus 2 other teams who got the most like points, like based on like third or like placement or winning sets or whatever. And so I'd make 12 teams, just like a Sendiku final, and then it'd be a double elim bracket in the finale, and you'd probably get buys based on like if you wanted to or not. So it'd be shorter length. I mean, it'd probably be the same amount of time, but it'd be lesser weeks. There'd probably be just like like more diversity of teams, I would say. So you don't have to play like every single week. So you can just win 1 week and get out. You can play their tournaments. You can practice more. And I just think also it'd be really good finale just seeing who's the best winner of them all. I guess you could say.
So one of the things I'll push back with that is when you come to the SAC, you're not getting 80, 90 teams signing up during a week. And if you were to get that kind of number with SAC, you're screwed because you don't have a format that's built to determine the top 8 or top 12 best teams that week in a timely manner like ladder does. No matter how many teams sign up for this ladder, it's not going to last more than, well, it'll last more than 3 hours, but it'll last 3 hours and 20 minutes. That's the hard cutoff. We know everything's done at that time. So you need the ladder format for the massive amount of teams that you sign. Go on before I get to your next point.
Sorry. I'm not saying get rid of ladder. I'm just saying that like ladder stays. That's where you get top 8. But then who's ever finished first and second in top 8, those are the auto qualifiers to the finale.
And that's my other thing. Saying. That's the problem we've run into pretty much every season that we did that with SAC. You get teams that win week 1. Okay, so they qualify for the playoffs. So they don't have to play for the rest of the season. The problem is that team that won week 1, they're playing in the playoffs a month and a half, 2 months later. And they're completely like they don't even like each other anymore at that point. You know, like they've disbanded internally, but like, all right, we'll come back for this one tournament versus the team that plays throughout the entire season and they get to play in the true SAC. And then it's like, okay, now we're going into the playoffs playing every single week. And now we're ready to roll and win the thing. So that's the problem you run into when you win a week and you automatically qualify is your week 1, week 2 champions just kind of sit on the shelf for a long, long time before you ever see them again.
But if I want to counterpoint to that, I feel like, especially with how like high level, top level this NA tournament has been, at least in the Western scene, and how many top teams have played, a lot of the pickups and a lot of the teams have like stayed together throughout these 8 weeks. They haven't really got sick of each other.
Well, the pushback to that is, what if 5 won week 1?
I don't know. I mean, like, also, like...
then you're just screwed. You're screwed. They would give it to the second place team, and then, like, well, the second place team won week 3, so it's like, okay, well, then we gotta, like... So, like, yeah, you're betting on these teams making it through. Now, to your point, you're talking about cutting down the season. If 5 looked at it and said, okay, it's just 4 weeks, it's not 8, maybe they'd put it together for a playoffs or something like that. But that's another kind of issue you run into with this league is like, okay, are all these teams going to hold hands and survive the gauntlet of this? And a lot of teams did not for this past one.
And also, like, I think like if they would hypothetically they win week 1, they could be like, okay, well, we won this week. You know, we don't have to stress every Saturday about just getting first and second. Now we can just chill out. You know, I think what also sucks about this timing, I know I saw Jared make a post about this, is how the Lily finale is during like college finals week for a lot of people. So like personally for me, I'm gonna be studying a lot, and I don't know. I think they don't have like a final on that day that Jared does. But I know some people, especially there's a lot of like high school, college people playing Splatoon still. The timing is really bad for them. And I just feel like they have to kind of make a sacrifice, which a lot of people will make that sacrifice. But like, it's just a little, the timing is kind of weird where it just like ends during finals week. And I don't know, it's kind of just like a plus minus of like, what do people want to play in it? The risk they're like studying, grading, or like the minus of it, like, you're playing it and maybe winning in it, but maybe not as studying as much or feeling confident going into the last week of the semester.
It's a really weird. Yeah, I don't know what the timing has to do. Like, I don't know why they're taking 2 weeks off. I mean, it works out because we get to run Super Jump this weekend, but yeah, I don't know why it was. I mean, I guess like last week was Thanksgiving and maybe they needed another week to set up. I don't know, but yeah, the timing was curious as well. I'm sure there's a reason, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah. I mean, again, like also, I'm not gonna say like Nintendo staff aren't human; they're human as well. Like
Oh
they have
yeah.
priorities
Oh
as
yeah.
well. So like, I'm not saying, oh no, they should have done this because everyone's in school. Like obviously, there's maybe other things they're going on, like a Nintendo Direct. No I'm joking.
Well,
Um,
I mean, like
no, yeah.
you're either running into school or you're running up against the holiday or you're running up against another event that's already been announced. I mean, like even without Nintendo, if you want to create an event today, you're going to get some pushback because some TO's going to be like, well, I created this. I had that date locked out like 2 years in advance or something.
Uh-huh.
So I mean,
Yeah.
you're going to clash with something no matter what,
And
IRL or online.
that's why I like what Sendu does, where he's like, beginning of the season, oh, here's in the zone. In the zone are these days. Sendu finales this day.
Mm.
Boom, this opens. Some other tournaments. And I think that's just really well. And I think that's why Sendo.Inc. and also just Sendo tournaments has lasted as long as they have. Because it's always set in stone. Everyone knows when they are. And it's just really clear communication.
So we're probably going to play each other in a meaningless last place playoff game, right?
No, so it's toilet bowl. It's 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. If you lose, you move to the toilet bowl. If you win, you move to 7th, 8th place game. So yeah. I mean, you could say it's meaningless, but like I kind of want.
Should we put something on the line for our match specifically? The loser has to do something bad. Should we do that?
I'm down for whatever.
Okay.
So, but the loser, the loser is moving on. That doesn't even matter.
Okay. Yeah. What's going to happen to the loser?
Do you have anything?
No, this came off the top of my head. I was hoping you could entertain my audience, but I had too high of expectations for you.
Oh shoot. Oh no.
How about here's what's going to happen. If you lose, you have to play the Nintendo 64 Paper Mario and give it an honest shot. And you would thank me for it.
I already played. I think I'm on the food level, and I just stopped playing it.
The food level? There's no food level.
The boot horror.
Oh,
level,
the boot.
Whatever.
You're on chapter 3. Okay, and that was what you get scared?
No, I just stopped playing because it's just like I don't know. I'm not like drawn to nostalgia like some other people.
Oh my gosh, get out of here. Why do I keep this? Why do we do this?
What if you lose, you have to wear a cat made outfit in the next episode of the podcast?
Okay, bet. You think I don't have one laying around? You think I'm afraid to do that? I might do that if I win. I don't care.
Maybe Spirit Halloween is still open. I don't know.
They're not still open. They're definitely not. All right, fine. If I win, or if you win, I'll wear a cat made outfit next week. But if you win, we'll come up with something when I actually win. And
I'll buy a Packers jersey. I'll buy a Packers jersey and win.
You'll buy a pack of what?
That's lame. I said a Packers jersey. That's lame.
Packers jersey? Why would I care if you have a Packers jersey on? Get out of here.
I don't know.
Gosh. All right, that was it for. He was definitely scared. That's it for today's episode of the Popcast. Next week we are going to recap Super Jump, and I got a guest in mind that I want to bring on and do another guest segment that I haven't done for a while. After that, we're going to recap the league and a low ink. And then we got the Popcast Awards, the annual Popcast Awards. I'm going to have to post some stuff in a couple of weeks about that. Get some people in mind, like commentators of the year. I don't even know who would be eligible for breakout commentator of the year. Like, who started doing commentary this year and didn't suck at it? That seems like a very small list, but I don't keep track of who actually starts when and where. Team of the year, captain of the year, all that good stuff. If you'd like to be a part of the podcast in any way, just feel free to reach out my socials below. Blue Sky at Popgun, Discord at Popgun, YouTube at 25 Popgun, Twitch at Popgun 25. We're not going to raid anyone today. We are just going to end this right here, right now. GG's, good night. Stay out of trouble. We'll see you in the next episode.